Hello, and welcome to Bare Necessities. My name is Bear, and today I want to go over UI and add-on setup for EverQuest 2. I've had quite a few friends come back to the game or try Origins from scratch, and these are the questions I get the most, so let's dig right into it. First, let's talk about UI setup in general, just moving around your HUD elements and putting them where you want them. The easiest and best way to do this is to just hit F10. This will make all your UI elements opaque so that you can see them even if they have a transparent background. Also, even if you have windows locked, you can move them around. Speaking of window locking, if you right click any window and click on Windows settings, there will be an option to check or to lock and unlock that window. If it's locked, then you won't be able to move it around or resize it. You can also make it click through. There's certain things like, for example, your cast bar that you may want to click through so you're still able to click the targets. Like, for example, this, if my cast bar was in the middle here, I would still be able to click through and click on Captain Varlos here. Second, let's talk a little bit about hotbars. To open new hotbars, all you have to do is right click on a hotbar and say open a new hotbar. As you can see, I just opened a new hotbar over here off my screen a little bit. You can also close that hotbar by right clicking and just hitting close hotbar. Also, if you want to drag around the icons or abilities, that's actually a custom setting. So right at the beginning, it won't let you do that. But if you click on right click and you go to hotbar settings, and then you check allow draggable icons, you'll be able to drag around your abilities to different hotbars. Also, if you want to scale your hotbar, so make your buttons actually bigger, you can do this with icon size. And icon padding is going to be the padding between each icon. So for example, if I want to make my icons really big, I can, or very small. To set up keybinds for a hotbar, all you have to do is use Alt-O, which is a keyboard shortcut to open the options menu, or you can go in EQ2 and then click options, but then you just go to controls. And then as you'll see here, you have all your keybinds from everything from movement keys to view keys to hotbar keys, which is what I was talking about customizing. So if you want to customize your keybinds for your hotbar, you can right here. One of the tricky things about it though is if you want to, for example, say I wanted to make hotbar 1 button 5E, it's going to say it's currently assigned to something else. And if you reuse the key, it actually makes both of those items happen at the same time, which is not what you really want to do. And unfortunately, the only way that you can actually fix that is to actually delete the key with the keybind that you want, and then you can go back and bind it to that hotkey, which is actually pretty complicated the first time you do it if you're setting it up and you don't know where everything is. Next, let's talk about some graphics or common animation tips. Back in options, if you go into display and you go into performance, you can actually check one of these pre-con performances. I usually start with like high quality because it usually has some shadows, some good textures and things like that, but it's like a good starting point for like modern computers. And then from there, I usually go to the Flora option, which is down here, and I turn Flora off, which is like all the grass and stuff on the ground. Just makes it easier to see things that are on the ground. Some people like it though, so if you want the Flora, you can leave it on. A few other things I like to turn on and off is under characters and animation. You can have, if you have claw simulation, you can see that like whenever I run around, my armor kind of has like the armor pieces kind of flow a little bit. I usually turn that off just because I like the way that the textures look better. And then I don't render cloaks. We don't have cloaks anyway, so it doesn't matter. And personally, I don't like the look of mounts, so I turn off mounts just because I don't like the way that people look while they're fighting on mounts. But you can leave them on where you're showing them always, and you can also hide them during combat, so you're on your mount most of the time, and then it just goes away whenever you get engaged in combat. Finally, the last few things that I change right away are, first, I go into, in options, I go into user interface, onto spell icons, and then there's a checkbox here for displayed numeric reuse counter. This will actually show you numbers counting down whenever your abilities are about to come off cooldown. So that's super useful. The next one is name and chat bubbles. Turn on show distance to target. So this, as you can see, for example, I am targeting Captain Varlos. You can see that I'm 4 meters away, 2 meters away. You can see that right here in my target window. So having that on is really nice because there's certain abilities that you have that have ranges. So you want to be able to see how close you are to your target. And then finally, under combat bubbles, I actually check off third-party damage. What this does is, if you have it on, it'll actually show everyone in your group's damage over the mob as well as everyone in your raid. So as you can probably assume, during a raid, you see a ton of numbers popping up over the mob. If you turn it off, then it'll only show your damage. So that's pretty nice, and that's something that I always do. Next, let's look at Dark UI and EQ2 maps. I'll leave links to these in the description, but a lot of people use Dark UI if not using default. Setup is very simple. Just follow the link below, move the extracted files into your EQ2 folder under UI files, then run the launcher. It will walk you through setup quite easily. Also included in Dark UI is EQ2 maps, and you can easily download all of the maps through this same launcher. But you can also download EQ2 maps separately if you use default. Follow the link in the description, and once you open the EQ2 maps launcher, just point to your EQ2 directory and download all the map files. Dark UI definitely has a lot of fluff windows in my opinion that may be super helpful on live or origins, but the one window I do use the most is the maintain spell monitor window. So the cool thing about this window is you can actually edit one of these lines, and you could put something like say you're a wizard and you wanted to track icy spears or whatever the name of it is. You can just type the name of the spell there, and then in this maintain spell monitor window here, once you cast that icy spears, it will maintain that spell on your target, and it'll show you like how long that ability is going to be on that target. So it's really good for maintaining damage over time abilities or debuffs, things like that, things that you want to maintain on the mob, but you don't have to like click every single mob to see how long until it expires. Generally, if you want to look at a Dark UI window settings, if you hover over that window and you click in the top left, there's should just be like a tiny, as you can see here, that's how you access the settings. Once you pop that up and you have that window available, you can actually look at all of the Dark UI windows, and you can customize those windows, turn them on and off. Like for example, one that I always turn off is the icon bar, which it looks kind of like this. But you can toggle that on and off by just clicking this button. You can also check it off here so that it doesn't show on login. But there's a lot of things like that that I don't use, but you definitely can use them. It's just things that I currently don't use. Finally, let's talk about ACT. ACT, or Advanced Combat Tracker, is a log parser for EverQuest 2. It has a ton of capabilities, but after running the basic wizard, it will allow you to parse your DPS or damage per second. This is useful to see how you're doing from a DPS perspective, but will also allow you to improve your cast order and experiment with things to find your optimal DPS rotations. You can also use this app to create triggers and timers. I definitely have a ton of these, and I turn them on and off as I go through expansions, but you can make triggers for when a buff is cast on you or a buff expires. You can also use these triggers to make timers so that you can track when an AoE from a raid mob will happen. There's a lot you can do with ACT, and I won't go into all the details, but it's definitely a tool worth downloading and looking into if you want to improve your game. I'll leave a link in the description below on where to download this. Hopefully this was helpful for new players. I'm still in my journey to level 50, but I will have a 30 to 50 leveling guide in the coming weeks, as well as videos like this for people just joining the game or returning players as well. If you enjoy this content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.